Hey everybody, I'm Vera Stewart and welcome to the VeryVera show. I'm so glad you decided to join us today, and I am so excited about the show today. I have a very special guest, Sheri Castle, and Sheri, welcome back.
Delighted to be here, my friend.
You know, this is 3 times as the charm on this, so we're really happy to be working together. And Sheri is here on behalf of our mutual friend, the Fresh Market, who everybody knows that's where I do my grocery shopping. Love their store, and you've got an announcement on their behalf today.
I do. Well, we all know that pimento cheese can make any day special. Well, the Fresh Market is returning the favor and having a special day for pimento cheese. Woo! April 9th is National Pimento Cheese Day. Can you believe there was not a national day?
I'm telling you, I cannot, and I'm so happy that they discovered it.
I am as well. And so there's going to be in-store demos, there's going to be recipe cards, different ideas of how to make your own pimento cheese, how to use their delectable pimento cheese, and we're going to be showing a few of those recipes today.
Okay, we're doing 3 different things.
What
are we doing today?
We're going to start out with some pimento cheese deviled eggs, and then we're going to make pimento cheese drop biscuits that you can eat with butter, tomato, oh, so many things you can do with those. And then last but not least, mac and cheese with pimento cheese.
Oh my gosh. Well, we got started before we came on the air. We put the eggs on to boil, and we let those come to a hard boil for about 10 to 12 minutes.
Right.
And then take them off the heat.
Yes.
Put the lid on, and after they've sat, then you're going to put them down in an ice bath.
Right.
And then we've gotten those peeled. So I would like to ask you a little bit more about how this whole thing got started with the Fresh Market putting their name on their recipe in the store.
It's a really great story. You know, the Fresh Market began in Greensboro, North Carolina, but now there are 185 locations, and their own special pimento cheese is in all 185 of those stores. It became their brand, their first signature brand in 1983, based on a family recipe, as so many good pimento cheese recipes are.
Isn't that the truth?
Yes, exactly. And we all have our little way. There's a pimento cheese for everyone. But they now have 3 varieties. They have their original, they have a jalapeno, and they have a low fat. And over the years, since it came out, they have sold 11 million pounds of pimento cheese. Now, yesterday I was adding that up, and if my math is correct, that would fill not 1, but 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Oh my gosh!
That's a lot of pimento cheese.
I bet there are people out there in the audience that are thinking about they were in the shallow end eating that much
Exactly, working their way through on the other end. But you know, pimento cheese it has such a strong Southern identity, but it didn't originate in the South, but we have certainly taken that over and made it our own. And then there are things, you know, pimento cheese is its own good thing. Heaven knows we can all stand around and just eat it. Right. But we can also use it as an ingredient, just as we're doing in these wonderful eggs. And we're taking our hard-cooked eggs and going to put mix in things in our yolks here. So may I go ahead and start stirring here?
Absolutely.
So what we've done is taken our hard-cooked eggs and we've mashed up the yolks just with a fork to make them a little bit crumbly. Absolutely. Doesn't that look like spring sunshine? Yes. Just perfect for April. And we're going to put, as one might expect, a generous portion of this delicious pimento cheese.
And that is their brand.
That is their brand, and this is the original, but you know, you could use any of their flavors, including the jalapeno if you want just a little bit more kick.
Well, you know, through the years, I've had people say that the first reason they ever went in that store was because a friend of theirs said, have you tasted the pimento cheese at the Fresh Market? And it's like you said, it's like the best kept secret ever, the recipes that people individually have for pimento cheese.
Exactly. And you know, you talking about pimento, many years ago when I had my first job out of college, I was within walking distance of a Fresh Market, and we would all just walk and buy a container of pimento cheese and a sleeve of crackers or some celery sticks and sit outside the store and have that for lunch every day. It has certainly won the affection of store customers across the region.
Well, and you know, it is one of those ingredients that I think you and I both have been in cooking for quite a number of years, and it's almost like you can take a recipe that you've had forever, and where it says to add cheese, and you're gonna put pimento cheese in instead.
That's exactly right. And you know, some people like it creamy, some people like it a little more coarse and chunky, but as long as it's a good pimento cheese, I've not seen anybody turn it down.
No, absolutely not. Well, we're gonna start stuffing these eggs that I've been peeling over here, and when we come back from the break, we're gonna get started on the pimento cheese drop biscuit that she said she was she's gonna put all this butter and all this stuff. I cannot absolutely wait. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody, and if you're just joining us, I'm with my good friend Sheri Castle, and we are celebrating the fact that the Fresh Market is announcing National Pimento Cheese Day.
Yes, on April 9th of this year.
Oh, I'm so excited, and while we were away during the break, Sheri got the deviled eggs finished, and I absolutely love that bright color.
Isn't it gorgeous?
Which is part of the reason, you know, with the Fresh Market's pimento cheese in the actual batter, the yolk batter, they just turned out beautifully. So I want to garnish these with a little bit of the Salt Table's smoked paprika sea salt.
How delicious
I mean,
is that?
that will just pop that. And then you suggested a little slice of okra.
Of little pickled okra for just a little bit of brightness and crunch.
It could not get any more southern than this.
And you know why these are a match made in heaven? Did you know that a paprika is a smoked and dried and ground up pimento?
Okay, so what is a pimento, Sheri?
A pimento is a kind of a ripe, sweet pepper. You know, we think of red bell peppers, well, there's others. A pimento is in that family of peppers, and they're a little bit smaller. They're heart-shaped. Of course they are. And but a lot of times people will make a pimento cheese. Well, they'll use a roasted red bell pepper or something similar. But
yeah, because that's the way we did it at VeryVera. We put the red peppers on the gas stove.
Exactly, and that's what's done with a pimento. It's just the pimento is a little bit of a different shape, a little bit smaller. And how that came to be in the South, pimentos used to be only in Spain, and then someone in Georgia, good smart Georgia people, figured out a way to grow them and can them here, and that's when it took off across the South, when people had access to affordable and delicious pimentos.
Wow. Well, we're going to get started on recipe number 2, which is those drop biscuits.
Drop biscuits, love a drop biscuit, no rolling, no cutting. So we have some flour, we're adding baking powder, some salt, a little bit of sugar just for balance, not to make them sweet, but for a little bit of balance, and some good black pepper, and we're going to whisk that up.
Okay.
And then for both our fat, where you might normally be putting butter or shortening or something, we have a little bit of our trusty Duke's mayonnaise. And
I'm going to like these. I'm going to like these. I know it.
And then we have our milk. And we're going to stir this together, and then we're going to fold
That's just whole milk.
Whole milk, exactly. And this has been in the refrigerator, so you have your nice, good, cold dairy going in there.
And you see how she made a little well there?
Exactly.
And going on the edges.
And bringing it in. And when this comes together and is good and moist, we're going to fold in our remaining ingredients. This time, instead of finished pimento cheese, we're going to sort of make the pimento cheese in the bowl. We have our shredded cheddar. This is yellow cheddar, but you could use white if you preferred it.
Now, let me tell y'all something. Don't you be buying that already grated. You just got to grate that yourself.
Anytime you're going to celebrate and make good pimento cheese, you want to grate the cheese yourself, because you don't want all of those anti-caking agents and the things that they put in there. It only takes a minute. Then we've got our pimentos in the little jar, and then we have a little bit of green onion for color and crunch. And as soon as this is all moistened up, now it's not going to be a silky rollable dough like you would have you roll out. We're just, when everything's incorporated, you drop them either with fingertips or with a spoon onto a baking sheet that has been misted with a little non-stick spray, and you bake them up. And the thing about it is you can make little bitty ones for cocktail bites. You can make them big enough for a sandwich, and then the minute they come out of the oven, you brush them with a little bit of butter.
Okay, now this recipe and all of our recipes are always available on VeryVera.com. But this is for all those folks out there who have never made a homemade biscuit. This recipe is the one you need to try. And not only that, all the men in the house are going to smell the pimento cheese. They're going to love the fact that it's got some onions in it. And then didn't you say we're going to smother them with melted butter at the end?
Yes.
Now, how big are those going to get?
They don't spread out a whole lot. I kind of mound them up a little bit. But that's the beauty of a drop biscuit, is however they turn out is exactly how you meant for them to be. Whatever it is.
And we've got the cutest container to put them in at the end.
Exactly.
All right, so we're going to keep working on this. I'm going to get these in the refrigerator. And when we come back, we're going to show you how to drizzle those with that nice butter. And then I'm going to get in the kitchen and make the macaroni and cheese with the pimento cheese. And it is splendid.
And then I think we should sit on the floor and eat it all.
Let's do. All right, come back with us in just a few minutes.
Ask Vera is brought to you by Georgia Bank and Trust and Southern Bank and Trust.
Sheri Johnson in Augusta writes, I'm hiring a caterer for an upcoming event. What should I know about working with a caterer? Well, Sheri, I've got some tips for you. One of the most important things in working with a caterer is to determine a budget. If you can share that information early on in the process, you can save a lot of time in going back and forth with different menus and different price points. Give them at least a range of figures of what you're doing. That way they can send the appropriate menus to you. The next thing would be to schedule a walkthrough of the property of the space where the event is going to be held. Many times that needs to be done ahead of the process so the correct menus are submitted. Make sure you know when the staff is going to arrive and what they'll be wearing for the event to make sure that the client is comfortable with that. Determine where the staff is going to work and determine what happens to the leftover food. Sometimes there's not any, but you certainly want to know if you paid for the food, if you'll be able to have it at the end. Sheri, I hope that helped you with your question, and if you have a question for me, send it to askvera@wjbf.com. And I want to remind you that Fireside Outdoor Kitchens and Grills downtown has free cooking classes every Tuesday, and their Flip and Sip Ladies Night is every first Friday. Register online and check them out. Welcome back, everybody, and we are well on our way, Sheri, to a wonderful pimento cheese celebration.
Exactly.
And I see those biscuits came out beautifully.
Can you believe how pretty these are for just a drop? No, just a drop, no rolling at all. And we're brushing them with a little melted butter for a little color, a little moisture, a little extra flavor. Now, I'll tell you, among the many things I like to do with these, they're great by themselves, maybe with a bowl of tomato soup or a nice green salad. You can split them and fill them with tomatoes or bacon or ham or more pimento cheese.
Wow.
You can even take the little leftovers, break them up and toast them and use them as croutons.
Oh, well, I was busy too, Sheri, during the break, and I got this little simple white sauce going for the mac and cheese, the pimento cheese mac and cheese. So I melted my butter. I've got the onions that I sauteed just until they were translucent and nice and soft. Then I started adding the flour, and I got a little golden brown tint to the flour. Then I put in my paprika and my hot sauce. And then I like to pour the milk in really slowly so that you're not standing there forever stirring, waiting for it to get thick. So now I've got a nice, creamy consistency. And then I went ahead and got my pasta prepared, and I'm doing a fusilli pasta, and as you suggested, anything that's got chunkiness and lots of crevices, because you want all that sauce to just stick in there really good.
Exactly.
So now we're going to start adding all the other goodies.
Looks like we have some delicious white cheddar shredded here, and like we said before, want to shred your own. Some yellow cheddar.
Well, and a lot of people's recipes for pimento cheese use both of those.
They do.
When you were talking about all these well-kept secret pimento cheese recipes.
Exactly, and a little cream cheese. And some people will even add that to their pimento cheese in lieu of some of the mayonnaise to make it a little more creamy and a little bit more spreadable. And of course, cream cheese in any kind of a delicious cheese sauce like you've made here, it'll make it creamy, it'll help it hold together and not separate in the oven. And then it just wouldn't be pimento cheese without some pimentos.
Oh, I know it. All right, well, this is a great sauce. And now I'm going to ask you to dump this pasta in there. And I've prepared, Sheri, just a gratin pan that this recipe I'm actually doing half today because I love it to be thin and crisp.
Exactly.
And so I've sprayed it with the pan spray.
Right.
And then we're just going to get this all incorporated here.
I love this idea for the people that like the crisp edges
know,
and the
but-
topping. You know, but there are people, you could eat it straight out of the pan. For those that like it creamy, put the bacon. And do I see my favorite topping in the world is this crushed saltine crackers.
It is. I mean, there's nothing better than the fresh.
No, really, and I mean, this goes back to that whole idea that one of the best ways to eat pimento cheese is just stand there and eat it with a cracker, where we're getting the best of all these worlds
Well, and
right
you know,
here.
when you were talking about the soup with the tomato soup, I'm actually thinking about this. A creamed tomato soup with those biscuits would be so great. So, you know, as you're thinking about ways to incorporate, and I think the promotion with the Fresh Market and the pimento cheese is look at those recipes that
Right.
you've always, how many times have we all done macaroni and cheese? But
Exactly.
who would have ever thought of changing the cheese and making it a pimento cheese? So there are going to be so many ideas in the store
There are.
on the night of ways that you can incorporate pimento cheese, the actual ingredients, the actual branded pimento
Right.
cheese that the Fresh Market sells, to put into these recipes. Now this is going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 25 to 30 minutes. And this actually also, Sheri, holds really well. You know, I say a lot of times on the show, how do you logistically manage
Right.
all the components? So we've got the deviled eggs are in the refrigerator. We've got the biscuits that are done, but those can be covered with foil and go in your warming drawer.
Right.
This can be just turned down on low, and in just a few minutes we're going to come back. We're going to have this awesome celebration with all these delicious dishes, and Sheri's going to give us some tips.
On other things to do with good old pimento cheese.
Absolutely. So come back with us in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. And Sheri, there's no doubt about it, this is a pimento cheese celebration
It
today.
is indeed.
Oh, and look at this macaroni and cheese. And you know, it's one of those things that not only is it colorful, but I just love the way that it just crisped it up on top. It's just fantastic. And we're going to be tasting that in just a minute. But you know, Sheri, this is your third time with me on the show, and I was so excited when Katie at the Fresh Market reached out to me and said, you know, do you happen to know Sheri Castle? And I feel like our friendship over the last couple of years has really developed. And you know, when you were with me the first time, it was the Southern Gardener's
That's
Cookbook.
exactly right.
And what was your favorite thing that we did out
We
of that?
made strawberry tiramisu
that's
trifles with
right.
fresh berries and mascarpone and Grand Marnier, and we put them in parfait glasses.
Oh, it was so festive. I loved that. And then last year you came back because you had just come out with the community cookbook,
Right,
which
right.
was a combination of all the different, you know, junior league cookbooks, the little church cookbooks, different things
Right.
like that. And we did gifts. out of
We
that.
did gifts from the kitchen. We made caramel corn and cookies and drink mixes and cocktails, and we made some pimento cheese for the
We
ages.
did,
Do you remember
that's
that?
right.
It sounded kind of unusual. It had pecans and celery seed and hot sauce and a little pickle juice, but it came out great, and it never
did.
lost its essential pimento cheesiness. It was fancy, but it was true.
It was true. And you know, to that point, you've got some tips that you want to give everybody about this April 9th and things that are going on with recipes.
So yes, the national celebration of pimento cheese from the Fresh Market. In all 185 of their stores, there will be giveaways of recipe cards. There'll be chef demonstrations. There'll be, you know, pimento cheese of theirs, their wonderful store brand to buy, or the ingredients to make your own familiar favorite. Now, we came up with some ways to do it. One of them is this great mac and cheese that we've already done. We've talked about adding it to a twice-baked potato.
Oh,
Scooping
gosh.
out that potato, mixing in your pimento cheese, putting
Great
it back in the
idea.
shells. We have talked about adding it to a cheeseburger. Instead of a slab of cheese,
Yeah.
a big old dollop of warm pimento cheese on your favorite burger. We've talked about taking one of the firmer pimento cheeses, forming little individual cheese ball bites, little cheese bonbons, and rolling them in nuts for a cocktail party.
Gosh, what a great idea.
And then perhaps our personal favorite, the go for it. You walk over in front of the fridge, you open the door, you take the lid off the cup, and you stand there and eat with a cracker, a spoon, your finger, whatever it takes.
No kidding. Awesome. Well, we have decorated a little bit with what we did today. You know, the cottage shop over in Savannah helps me with decor and things for the kitchen, and they had this gorgeous platter with the bird, real springy looking, and so I've nested the deviled eggs on top of a cake platter with the alfalfa sprouts, and you know, Sheri, you just piled that pimento cheese on there, and I had 4 eggs that were left, so I just cut them and did like a little garnish on the top, and then the biscuits just look fantastic.
Aren't they
and
beautiful in here?
this yellow rooster that you can actually put in the oven, it'll stay hot. But I wanted to scoop into this mac and cheese. Just look at that. Oh my gosh. And you can just see the cream cheese in there. It just looks fantastic. Put a little bit of that on the plate. But as we go through this, the Fresh Market on their website has got these ideas that Sheri went over, different other recipe ideas. Of course, all the recipes from today will be on our website at VeryVera.com.
Exactly.
And as I always say, Sheri, and you've heard it before, no matter what you do it in good taste. And certainly today is going to be no exception because I've had my good friend back with me, and then we're tasting all these fantastic recipes. But I want you to come back and join me again next week for another episode of the Very Vera Show. Thank you, Sheri.
Thank you, my
friend. Come back again soon. And y'all go see the Fresh Market coming up on April 9th.
I bet.